guys, this is Mo here, and I have some thoughts, and this is some effery, and I will not be holding back, so this will be a rant. But Netflix's Narnia is reportedly thinking of recasting the iconic Liam Neeson, the role of Aslan, and if you've read the Chronicle of Narnia books or any C.S. Lewis books, you will realize that they are deeply allegorical, deeply rooted in Christian, theological principles. Aslan can be, interpreted as, kind of the Trinity or Jesus, God's voice on earth in Narnia. And of course, with Greta Gerwig on board, yes, the creator of the most misandrous movie ever, Barbie, the movie that, made men, accessories that women could play with, and when they retaliated because they had no purpose in life, Hollywood reality, I'm looking at you. Purposeless young men are angry, defiant, and will lash out. I'm not wanting that for society, but you keep making men useless and without purpose, this is what's going to happen. But getting away from that rant-filled, rage-soaked, passion of a thousand suns that I have about the, portrayal of the girl boss and the ridiculous, stupid man, let's get back to this, incoming dumpster fire. In fact, must miss TV right here. Greta Gerwig's take on Narnia may have found its replacement for Aslan. Now, he was previously played in the movies that came out in, I think, the late 90s, early aughts. He was played by Liam Neeson. Now, the magical male lion might be reportedly getting a major shakeup in the new adaptation. This time, it might be played, Aslan, the male lion, might be played by Meryl Streep. Now, this article is incredibly excited that Meryl Streep might be doing this. Can I explain how this is incredibly disrespectful? And you would not see this for other religions. There's one of the Abrahamic religions you definitely wouldn't take an allegorical story of and fuck with it, Hollywood, would ya? Charlie Hebdo's still real clear in your memory, isn't it? Because you are fine to take a flaming pee on Christians. You are fine to take the life work of a man who, wanted to share his journey to peace and his soul. Look, you may not be Christian. You don't have to be Christian to like the Chronicles of Narnia. But if you change this, you might as well turn off and tell every single person who was a fan of the original IP, who, lived childhood stories and learned about, not even Christianity, but good morals, good life lessons, being a true friend, standing up for something that, was right, even if you're the lone voice, standing on your convictions, making sacrifices, that kind of thing. All those things that I learned as a baby Mo, reading the Chronicles of Narnia, how to be a good friend, how to be brave. Lucy goes in and she meets this magical world and she meets a friend who betrays her. He betrays her. He was going to tell the White Witch, there were daughters of Eve and sons of Adam in the forest. And he turned out to, not do that. It's stories about redemption. How dare Hollywood, who hasn't made an original story that's not a reanimated live action, remake, a redo, something cultivated from the 80s that you slap a skin suit on and make it 10 times crappier. How many, how about you let people who actually went through stuff, authors who went to war, lived life, lived through tragedy, gained wisdom through that. Since you authors, you writers, Greta Gerwig, especially you, have apparently not been through any of these life things that can add richness, relatable stories, and universal concepts to people. Since you can't do that, how about you let C.S. Lewis, who was able to do it for years and years through books, do it? This ridiculous Netflixification of Narnia There are not a lot of IPs that I give two craps about anymore. Y'all have killed Star Wars. Willow was a flaming dumpster fire of redonkulousness that I cannot even comprehend unless I watch Disparu breakdowns. That's the only way I can watch it. Rings of Power, Rings of Prime, that turned into a, unending soul sucking, test to make sure I was not having a stroke. I definitely, legitimately smelt burned toast. So the fact that, you've had all of these IPs, Hollywood, you buy these IP because they have inbuilt, audiences. You are not only buying the IP, you are intrinsically buying all of us who have, loved this IP for years. And we get that some things won't translate from book to, film. We get that, hey, for the sake of, just we found this great actor and it turns out that they don't look exactly like the casting, but we think that he'll be great. Please give us a chance. Instead of that, we're going to get a cynical remake from a woman who hates men, hates Christianity, hates anything that isn't girl power misandry. I cannot think of more mismatched director to, IP source than Greta Gerwig, the girl power feminista, to C.S. Lewis, a deeply thoughtful man, a, contemporary of J.R.R. Tolkien. These two men would, get together, and Tolkien famously hated allegory, so he would always, rib, C.S. Lewis about it. There are lessons in the Chronicle of Narnia books that I think are essential for every child to learn. Standing up for what's right, even when it doesn't seem, like you're going to get what you have. Think of the magician's nephew. Basically, this little boy, his mother is dying, and he magics himself into Narnia, into the land between lands or what have you. And he meets, Aslan, and he says, look, you can get this apple for the tree of life, but you can't use it yourself. These are incredibly, complex concepts that Mr. C.S. Lewis was able to put into a book to make my tiny mind understand. And I had my mom, but I swear I learned so much from books. And the fact that kids today might be introduced to this absolute, skin suit zombification, mutated abomination of a story that I loved, that I want to share with my children, I would, Netflix, do it. I say do it. We got some good movies. I've got the books, and the BBC did a great, audio recreation. So I am sure that you're going to get some people that will enjoy the fact that most, people that love the IP, the original IP enjoyers, are not going to like the fact that the Jesus stand-in is now being, possibly voiced by a woman. Now, Greta, here's a thought for you. If you do make Aslan, female, the female lions or the lionesses don't have manes. Now, that was kind of an integral part of, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. His Aslan's mane was, mentioned in many passages in that book. So it's probably a good thing that you're starting with the magician's nephew so that you don't ruin one of the great stories. The magician nephew is great, but, I'm a Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe first kind of gal. That being said, there are many channels if you want to get into the real stories that C.S. Lewis wrote. He wrote children's novels. He also wrote adult novels. And you don't have to be Christian to, get into them. They're just well-crafted stories. And they're going to be 999,000 billion times better than whatever Hollywood does with the zombified skin suit that they're going to create and call Narnia. So in my opinion, from Mama Mo to you, this is must-miss television. Let girl Aslan go do her girl boss thing in what is, faux Narnia. And the rest of us will just cozy up to our, books, our tried and true dog-eared books that carried us through times when we were alone, when we were sad, when we needed a comforting friend and a story that we could rely on. we'll turn back to the books. We'll go back to C.S. Lewis. You guys can have this whatever it is, but it's not Narnia. Not to me, and I don't think it's going to be to a lot of people if you make this choice. Greta, Netflix, if you want to have any sort of, I don't know, legs to stand on with this particular project, I would respect the source material. I would respect the, people, the fans, the people that have held on to C.S. Lewis, from to the Chronicles of Narnia, who've held on to that childlike wonder of standing in a forest with a lamppost and a fawn. Because this isn't going to be it. You're going to get, a quadriplegic, furrykin, and apparently Meryl Streep as Aslan. So God bless you, Hollywood. Keep screwing up because you're making YouTubers great. That being said, I hope you liked this rant and departure from my normal stuff, but I am so pissed off about this. Again, I cannot explain to you how C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia, really got me through being an incredibly nerdy, introverted, and odd child. It made me feel like there were people out there that kind of got me, and for a couple of minutes I could just escape from the entire world and get lost in a story. In Hollywood, I used to be able to get lost in movies. But now I am so pissed off at you and looking for the hidden message and the ideology that I'd much rather just watch the Golden Girls. So, as always, keep B. Arthur and Betty White in your playlist and skip Netflix's Narnia. Bye, you guys.